Joe Burrow played in the first preseason game for the Bengals.
Was more of the same from the
And he got
offensive
sacked
line.
once
QB was
and
sacked once,
got
then
hit pretty hard
hit
on a
while
throw
throwing
on
on a
third
third
and
and
four. He took a
four.
total of 13
He took a
snaps
total
and finished with 39 passing yards, right? And it's like, why is he out there in the first preseason game if you're not going to improve the O-line? Since Joe Burrow's debut in 2020, the Bengals rank last in pass block win rate. Almost half of Cincinnati's plays with Burrow under center, right? And he is that sensational. But a lineman is going to get beat with 2.5 seconds, right? Their O-line. Can we trust him to... When Joe Burrow plays 17 games, sensational things happen for the Bengals. It leads to a Super Bowl. Even with the worst O-line in the league that year, he led them to the Super Bowl, right? And I don't expect good things out of this defense. Their defense has been a bottom defense since Joe Burrow entered the league. I get they only have $18 million in cap space, but look at how much they're paying Orlando Brown Jr. He lost to rookie Eric O'Neal all night, especially on that sack or that big hit when it's dropped back out of the shotgun. You have to be able to handle a rookie edge rusher. We're not talking about Myles Garrett. Imagine if they played the Rams again, right, in a Super Bowl rematch. Oh, hey, by the way, this time not only are you going against Donald, you got Myles Garrett next to him. Oh, and they got an all-pro corner in McDuffie. And, for Burrow to be healthy, things need to be better, right? You have to make some adjustments. Like, I get you have to put him under center, right? But he's also been with Zach Taylor, right? And he needs to make some adjustments. I get that Burrow has the right to do audibles, but you look at this season and you look at quarterbacks. Who was the least sacked quarterback? Rather, forget sacks. Who was the least hit quarterback in all of football last year? The reigning MVP in Matthew Stafford, one of the oldest quarterbacks. It's not because of mobility. It's because of Sean McVay, who was very clear, right? We're not going to expose him in the pocket a ton. We're going to move him. The quarterback that was called bootleg the most, right? He was the most bootlegged quarterback, meaning fake one side and run to the sideline of the opposite side. And people are going to say, well, he has Puka. He has Devontae Adams. That's not as good of a duo. That's a great duo, but it's not as good of a duo as Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. First of all, where is the run game for this team? Why? Look at their running back situation. It's been abysmal. Other than last year, I thought Chase Brown had a good year. Let's see if he can do it again next year, because last year, 1,019 yards and 11 touchdowns. And they're going to need even more this year, right? It's just, Sean McVay has the awareness to do that. Zach Taylor, there's no excuses, right? And I get that Burrow is allowed to run his plays, call his audibles. You got to implement more bootleg, more screen passes, a way to keep Burrow healthy. You have the talent at the receiver position, and you got to hone Burrow to the side, and say, don't hold on to the ball to make the spectacular play, because if you get injured during that and it's not the Super Bowl, we're done for the season, right? Used to make fun of the Manning brothers, Peyton, Eli, because in the pocket they would throw the ball away. And oh yeah, they're avoiding hits. They didn't do that because they were scared. You saw Eli in the Super Bowl come up, pull up, launch it downfield, right, to win the game. 2 Super Bowls against the GOAT. They're doing that because they wanted to play longevity-wise, 20 plus years. So whether Joe Burrow, says, forget what Zach Taylor's saying, I'm going to go out and do this, right, and I'm going to stay healthy, or Zach Taylor, it's your job. Yes, you're a coach, and a part of coaching is keeping the franchise healthy, right? Because you know, and I get it, it's football. Anyone can get blindside hit out of nowhere, even if you have the best protection. It's football. But consistently, they're failing this guy. And people are going to say, well, they spend on the wide receivers, they spend on Joe Burrow. And that is true, right? You invest $70 million dollars a year in the wide receivers. But do you know where Cincinnati has been when it comes to spending on the offensive line? They're not spending. They're 24th in Joe Burrow's career there. They're bottom third of the league, right? That's really bad. So where do you think you're gonna get when you have the bottom third of the league spending on your offensive line, right? And you look at teams that have been successful. They have focused on blocking, focused on building the O line. You look at almost every champion. You look at that Eagles team that beat Kansas City. Not Chris Jones, nobody could go through that offensive line. You look at the Brady years. He took less money, so they didn't necessarily splurge on wide receivers. They only splurged on one wide receiver ever, and that was Randy Moss. They focused more on, we'll put these guys out here and we'll invest in the O-line, right? And, you know, you can say, well, investing in the wide receivers, yeah, they've made the Super Bowl, and it is possible, but they did not win because they didn't invest in O-line. They didn't give Burrow enough time in that Super Bowl when Aaron Donald was running at him. And I totally understand that that's the greatest wide receiver duo in the league, maybe top 2, 3 all time, right? I'm not taking them number 1, but how would Joe Burrow fare with Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers? And you get Trent Williams blocking, right? They were ranked 6th last year in O-line. You have Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. Your team's going to block for you. You have a top 5 running back, top 5 tight end. You have a reliable weapon in Mike Evans. We have to see what dribbling is, but that would be lethal. And your defense isn't going to sell you as bad as the Bengals are, right? You get Fred Warner. Hopefully Bosa can stay healthy. We'll see what happens this year. But could you imagine that type of situation, right? Let's say Brock Purdy goes and stinks it up and Burrow wants out. Now, if they're smart to trade for him, fine. If they don't, because the 49ers do have the most cap space in the league at $67 million, but the Niners are hesitant to always trade for quarterbacks. What if Stafford calls it a year? Whether he wins the Super Bowl, whether he loses, he calls it a career. Could you imagine Joe Burrow with Puka, with Devontae, with Ferguson, and that defense? He doesn't need to go out there and score 30. This is not Josh Allen who goes out there and scores 30 and loses the game. You need a great defense, arguably an elite defense. I'm just saying, in this situation, the grass may be greener.